I like to say, you don't knock on someone's door and say, hey, will you sponsor me? Sponsors find you.
Hi, and welcome to the next episode of On Purpose. Today, I'm joined by Roy Weathers. Welcome, Roy.
Hi, how are you? Great to be with you today.
So Roy, for those of you who've never met him before, is a member of the U.S. leadership team at PwC. But the area where I've had the greatest opportunity to work with Roy is as the head of CEO Action for Racial Equity, which has been just a great experience, at least for me personally, which we'll talk about. Where I wanted to start though, Roy, was on your childhood.
I grew up in a very small town in South Carolina. About 2,000 people live there, very, very tiny town. We have one stoplight. If you will.
It's a country song, one stoplight.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. I lived in that town. It does exist. Very fortunate to grow up with two incredible parents, really invest in me and what they shared, what they exposed me to, and most importantly, the notion of caring for others, the notion of being forgiving, and patience, I would say, are the things that I found in this little tiny town in South Carolina.
I think the other thing you've spoken so eloquently about is the important role throughout your career, certainly at PwC, of sponsors and mentors. Talk to me a little bit about how you think about sponsorship versus mentorship.
A mentor, from my perspective, is someone that can be assigned to you. It's someone that typically there's this formal arrangement around it. And for me, the notion of sponsorship is one that goes a bit deeper. And I learned this at a very early point in my career. My sponsor, a real dear friend now, was someone that never really was warm and fuzzy to me. I mean, we didn't go to lunch. He didn't, put his arm around me and how you doing. But I come to appreciate that in the room, so to speak, with others, he was a significant influencer. He was always asking about my career to the right people. He was always willing to, what I say, put his personal credibility on the line to help me to continue to succeed.
Well, one of my favorite quotes from you is you say, you can't always pick your sponsor, but you can work at being more sponsorable, which was such an interesting concept, and I love it.
I like to say, you don't knock on someone's door and say, hey, will you sponsor me? Sponsors find you. This notion of being sponsorable makes it really about you. What are the things I'm doing on a day in and day out basis to demonstrate that I'm someone that's worth investing in? If you're asked to follow, you follow with energy, you follow with zeal. If you're asked to lead, you lead with energy and you lead with zeal. And I think that little notion of, am I being sponsorable in the moment, has always been something that I carry around with me.
You've been a leading voice for diversity, inclusion, and belonging in the workforce. I wonder if you might be able to share a little bit more about what is CEO Action for Racial Equity?
CEO Action for Racial Equity, in a quick summary, is 125 companies that have come together to focus on societal issues. We're doing that in the form of a fellowship. We have roughly 200 fellows. These are executives, like the executive from your organization, lawyers and doctors and researchers, folks with diverse backgrounds, community engagement, communication. We've come together to focus on 4 large topics: education, economic empowerment, public safety, and health, from a racial equity perspective. A year and a half plus, we've developed a portfolio of 8 policy areas, along with some other areas of corporate engagement. Very dynamic, data-driven. We look for bipartisan areas. We don't assume we have all the answers, but we work well to move policy at the federal, state, and city level that drives change from a racial equity perspective.
So I know you are a very proud father and husband who's quite actively involved. And I thought a nice place to end is talk about what you think your influence is going to be on your kids by the example that you have set.
Just as my parents invested in me in terms of education and the realization of what was really important, I, like you, wake up doing that for my kids. And, the legacy we leave is based on the life we live every day. And so I do believe in giving back. I do believe that we all have a role to play. And the beauty of the corporate community, the personal life and doing good all fits together for me personally. And for me, that's where my purpose lies.
Roy, I want to thank you for joining me, but most importantly, I want to thank you for your friendship and for your continued inspiration. And thanks to all who've joined this episode of On Purpose. I hope you join us next month for another engaging discussion for On Purpose. Thanks.